Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. On behalf of Alaska Public Media, thank you for watching Hangar Flying. This evening, we are happy to have back on our show Mr. Patrick Thurston. Mr. Thurston has an interesting career in aviation. He's been a pilot in the military and in civilian life, and he's flown all over the world. We are going to be chatting with him about some of his flying that he's done in Indochina after his military career. Welcome back to the show, Patrick.
Thank you.
So, can you tell us about some of the airplanes that you flew after you left the Navy?
It was a substantial change. The Navy training was so intense and so long that you could hardly not be proficient. And in Indochina, we did have training programs, and they were sufficient, and mine was certainly thorough. I flew the smallest airplane was the Helio Courier, a very small airplane, very commonly seen in Alaska, in fact. And the Pilatus Porter, not so often seen here anymore, but they've been here somewhere. Also, I flew the Caribou and the C-123 Provider and the C-46, which I mentioned in an earlier discussion. And those airplanes were operated in rural areas for sure. Most gravel and dirt strips, the natives would clean up the trees and more or less level the surfaces. And some of them were quite satisfactory, and others were different levels of risk involved. And that's what we had to consider when we were going to go off on these flights, although rarely did we cancel a flight before we went. And of course, once we've gone, now we're motivated to keep on going, even if the conditions don't recommend doing so. But typically, the weather in that area was mountainous. We'd have the seasonal smog, which was you could only see straight around, really. And then we had the rainy season, which was full of thunderstorms and turbulence in the mountainous areas, and you had those factors to consider. But we were masters of it pretty much, and the greater concern was the oppositional activity on the ground that we had to watch out for. Another factor that doesn't exist here until recently, when the robots are flying around in places. That's another alertness. But we incorporated those things all in kind of an amalgamated package of collected factors that are hazards. And any one of them could emerge largely enough to say, I'm not going to do this today. And that could be in weather, or it could be the smog, or it could be all kinds of things, wet runways. We didn't have reverse in the gasoline engine airplanes. The Helio doesn't have reverse, but the Pilatus Porter does, and that helps a lot in the slippery surfaces. The way that I developed, and I tried to pass this to my fellow workers over there, was to use this fear factor. If you're not really comfortable, the customer's not paying for you to fail. The customer's paying for you to succeed, so when you go out there, that's what we want. But crashing your airplane is a failure that we really want to avoid at all costs. So I'd ask myself, how many times do I want to get this wrong? Because I'm going to be there. I don't want to get that wrong ever. And luckily enough, and luck has to play a part, but sooner or later, if you rely on luck, it'll do what luck does. It goes and favors the other guy. And you end up being the scapegoat on that. So we have to consider the consequences of everything we do. And this current method of formalizing this consideration of, before you go, is this what I really want to do? And if it doesn't work out, how many times do I want this to fail? And in most cases, it's none. And so when I'm out there saying, well, I think I can, I don't try to forget the people who bought a ticket that says, I'll go because you think you can. No, I didn't buy that kind of a ticket. I want to make sure we're going to get there safely. And if it's merchandise, that's meant to go there safely as well. So it's rare that you really have to press on. So if you think you're pressing on, it's a good idea to rethink that and maybe do it on another day.
Well, that type of flying sounds very much like Alaska, with some of the geographical changes, climate changes, challenges, and some of the aircraft that Alaskans fly as well. It sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. And if you had one piece of advice for somebody getting into aviation now in Alaska, be it a pilot or a mechanic or other aviation professional, what would that advice be?
I would say while you're young, don't be shy about sticking your nose in it. Dive in there and learn what you can and take advantage of every demonstration or discussion or explanation that you can get from somebody who's actually doing it and maybe done it for a long time. Just don't be shy. Dive in there and you might be surprised at how much you like it.
And it's obvious that you've enjoyed your career.
Immensely. Immensely. I'd do it all again.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure.
No, you're very welcome. I'm happy to have a chance to talk with you.
We've been very pleased to have Mr. Patrick Thurston on our show, and we have enjoyed learning from him, and we hope that you can take something to heart and stick your nose in it if you're hoping to get involved in aviation or develop a career in aviation. And whatever you do, be safe. So ladies and gentlemen, until next time, fly safely.